No. That's not a misspelling. It isn't biking for dummies. It's biking from dummies, and you'll see why as I progress here in my little presentation. I'll start off here by rehashing some of our experiences, which you might profit from. Well, first of all, we've got nothing fancy. A couple Huffy bikes, $100 a piece from a discount retailer. That has some significance, as you'll see later on. We'll start off here with one of our first rides was the Blue Marsh area up in Reading, Pennsylvania. And anyone who's familiar with that, it's a huge dam, one of the biggest in Pennsylvania. And I recommend anybody, it's a fantastic ride if you go from the Silling Basin over to the boat launch area. It's not a great ride for a beginner, but it's a tolerable ride. However, when you get over to the boat launch area, if you go up, you'll find an outhouse, and it looks like something like the Hobbit hole in one fairy tale where the trail goes down the back behind the outhouse, and it's a trail. It's a path. It goes straight up, straight down. There's rocks, there's logs. Well, we're rookies, remember? I didn't even fill the water bottles. I thought, you know what? We ought to ride around this lake. What a spontaneous thought. Well, my friends, about an hour and a half later, we're out in the middle of nowhere, and with my tongue swollen, I can't even talk because I'm dehydrated. I decided, you know what, we got to get a shortcut to get back. And here's lesson number one. If you go to the Blue Marsh area, or most dams for that matter, all those little old roads, they all go down, and they wind up in the dam underwater by a couple 100 feet as they filled it. So when you take one of those blacktop roads and you go down for a half a mile and your tongue's all swollen and you're dehydrated and you wind up at the water's edge, you got to turn around and take your bike for a walk all the way back up the hill. Well, now we're about 2 hours out, so the only way back is to backtrack. Well, I'll tell you what, it's not recommended that you go without water. Your tongue gets swollen. It's probably not a real good medical condition to be in. Fortunately for me, I did have a thermos in the van with water. So, lesson number one on your first biking experience, take water. Fill the water bottles on the bicycle. Hydrate. Lesson number one for dummies. And I might add, lesson number two is planning. Spontaneous around the lake. I didn't realize it's like tens and tens of miles of hard biking, which would be hard hiking, more or less biking. I was going up one incline. I said, no human could possibly get up this thing. It's like a 40-degree slope full of rock. And here comes this kid pedaling. Oh, this is a tough one, ain't it? And he rides past me. Yeah, you ass clown. So the next stop, great planning, Tank Hollow. Now, for folks who have never done Tank Hollow, don't do Tank Hollow. I recommend they X-nay that off your list as well, because the first clue should have been when you get to the front gates of this Tank Hollow. It's not actually a biking area. I think it's a hunting area. I see this huge padlock on the gate. And off to the right, as the entrance is, there's this skull laying there. I'm assuming of a deer head. Hopefully not another bike rider. It reminded me of one of those heads you see in the desert in some cartoon. It was like foreboding. But, don't be silly about it. It's like 90 or 100 degrees. So we're going to ride in. So we go past the gate. We're going down maybe about 5 or 10 yards in. Clue number two, 8 or 9 slithering baby snakes going across the pathway. I'm thinking, babies usually come from mamas. Yeah, keep riding. Well, it's not that great a ride. It's all stony. It's. Some people like that. That's great. Good for you. I'm a city slicker and a dummy, and kept going because we knew there was a beautiful outcropping view of the Lehigh Gorge from Tank Hollow, and we kept going down. When you get to the end, maybe 2-3 miles in, not that far in, but when you're a city slicker, it's far, and you come to a pile of rocks that must stretch 15, 20 yards. You got to climb across these boulder fields to get out to the ledge. Not thinking, because we are city slicking rookies. I get to near where you can go to the outcropping to get these beautiful photos, but to get there, you have to go across maybe an 8 or 10 inch ledge that to the right has a 200-foot drop. I mean, it's straight down into the gorge. Oh, hey, not to worry. There's no rails. There's no treads. What kind of place is that? But there are trees. I mean, if you fall, maybe you could, get slowed down by a tree or two, like a pinball and a pinball machine. At any rate, I get out to the outcropping, and I'm snapping away a couple pictures, as you see here. And I thought it was the wife behind me. There's some rustling. Wait a minute, that ain't her. It's down in these spread these weeds around, and oh my God, it's got to be at least 4 inches thick. It's a snake. I have no idea the length, but he was obviously up there enjoying the view as well, and he didn't ask for any camaraderie ship from a biker, and I didn't invite him to be my companion either for the view, and he made the first move by hissing. Now, I don't know which end, his butt or his face, is facing that little 1-foot ledge with a 200-foot drop, but I've got to get past him to get out. Now, I'm not a reptilian expert. I'm not a zookeeper at the reptile house, and I'm not about to take let's just do what intelligent people do. Run like hell. Now, he's hissing, and I know he wants to strike, and I got to run right past either his tail or his face. But I flew past him and yelled to the wife, Snake. Now, you got a picture. She's crawling over these rocks, lagging behind me. She's having a heck of a time. And when I yelled Snake, she was like Tinkerbell. I don't think her foot touched one rock. It was like slow motion, like the Matrix. She was flying over the rocks, like a princess fairy in the woods. And finally I thought, yo, hold it. The snake's not chasing us. He's not running 20 yards. He's just as happy to see us go. What have we learned from this? Well, number one is there's snakes. That means I should buy a nice little saddlebag for the bike and bring at least some ace bandages in case somebody fell and broke their skull on a rock. A few supplies, medical, you know what I'm saying? Obviously, things could happen out here, and you're 3 miles out. Now, how would we deal with this? If she would have cracked her skull and I got bit by a snake, we could go up and get the van, but there's a padlock on the gate, remember? Well, okay, here's the supplies. Medical, and then the biggest bolt cutter you can find at the old hardware store. I loaded that up into the van. It must be 3-4 foot long handles on it. If I had to cut the lock and get the van out, I could do that. Some of these trails have other markers, but they're padlocked, which brings us to the next emergency supply thing. Cell phone. Duh. Didn't have a cell phone. You take a cell phone, if something happens, you got a 911 call. Race back to the van, cut the bolts, and while the ambulances are coming, you can get your van down to the bike area where the injured party is, and at least start driving back up. And figure by the time I get back to the gate, if there ain't an ambulance there, just keep right on going, and we'll meet them somewhere in Jim Thorpe. Mainly because I don't know where the hospital is. But at least I'm on 911, and I've got a van, the bolt cutters, and at least a little bit of medical kit. Another valuable tip. Pepper spray. Yeah. I don't know if it would have done much for that brown bear we saw at the picnic table that was looking at our food. But I feel a little better with a little pepper spray. And here's another fact of nature when you're out amongst nature. Please look very carefully here. Identify this tree. You might save your life. It's called a walnut tree. They tend to grow at the bottom of a long 200-foot hill when you're going 20 miles an hour and it has a left turn. See, then you run into this little walnut tree at the bottom. And if anybody's ever seen Animal House, when they throw the marbles in the parade, you might have some idea of the fun nature has with you. If you ever ran across walnuts on a trail, it's another valuable learning tool. And walnut-looking trees that nature likes to be smart-ass enough to grow at the bottom of hills. Cute. Thanks, Mama Nature.
Go fly a kite.
We were riding the Switchback Trail up in the Mauch Chunk Lake area. It's a really nice little thing, but we were about 3 miles out. And as I said in the beginning, they're Huffy bikes. We got them from a discount store, and obviously the expert who put the bike together didn't fasten the rear bearings very well and didn't tighten it down, so the sprocket, little screwy thing that holds the bearings in, came loose as the wife's pedaling, and all the little ball bearings fell out into the mud and leaves. Oh, now the wheels hang in there with the chains off, the sprocket's cocked on an angle, and all my ball bearings are missing. So we're picking through the mud, trying to find ball bearings under leaves for about 20-30 minutes. Stuffed these muddy ball bearings back in, and we could hand tighten the bearings, but fortunately it was a ride downhill, and we sort of got it going. Lesson number whatever it is. Toolkit. Now that you have your saddlebag, and you have your water, and you have your medical supplies, get tools. In case your chain comes off, have a nice little chain repair thing. In case your ball bearings fall, you know what? Toolkit's indispensable. And while you're at it, yeah, that's me pumping up tires. Bicycle pump, forget the bicycle pump. You know, go get yourself one of those nice little electric things you plug in the lighter like I got. It's so much easier to flip the switch and it goes brrr and fills up the air in your tire. Bicycle pump my butt. Now, you can't drag that out on the trail with you, so here's some more valuable advice from a dummy. I got that Fixie flat juice in a can, and I carry a little box with a spare inner tube. So if you're out somewhere and your tire goes psst, it's not a snake, relax. The air come out of your tire. So now you simply take your Fix-A-Flat canny juice, squirt it in there, and hope for the best. Yeah, it isn't full inflation, but it's enough to get you off the hill. And if that plan A doesn't work, there's plan B. I've got my spare inner tube and my tools, remember? And I put the new inner tube in there, and it saves the day. You know, I don't mind taking my bike for a walk up every hill and grade there is, but taking my bike for a 3-mile hike down the hill just isn't like, there's something wrong with that. So, the Fix-A-Flat and a spare inner tube. And we also pack on the wife's a lunch, because you get hungry. Psst, one more little secret. After you see the snake, it came to me. Take a partial roll of toilet paper with you. It's great for wiping the grease off your hands when the chain pops off. It's great. Well, you know what it's great for. Or you can take the risk with unidentified leaves. I prefer the little partial roll of toilet paper, because it can be such a little thing that means so much in your life. Now, I hope some of these ideas have been useful, and that anybody who hasn't had a bike, or who may be pondering a bike, or who is a dummy and wises up the hard way, will learn something from this. Okay, well, thanks for taking the time to listen to my video and my expertise. So long.